want to clarify the primary outcome that you create. If you are in a business and you are providing a service, there's going to be some success metric for that service, whether the success metric is delivering a document, whether it is completing a negotiation or a transaction, or it could be as simple as giving advice about steps in a process. But generally speaking, there is going to be some starting point and some ending point. And when people define the ending point, you want to clarify what is the outcome that they should look to receive from you. Hi, everybody. It's Allison Williams here, host of the Crushing Chaos with Law Firm Mentor podcast. And on today's episode, we are going to be continuing our 4-part series about mission, vision, and values in a law firm, why you need them, and how to create them. So in our first episode, we actually walked through each of them. We talked about mission, vision, and values, and why you need each of them in your law firm, and how they interact with each other. Because oftentimes people are not quite clear on them. They have an idea of what each of them is supposed to do, but they don't necessarily know how to differentiate. So if you have any question about that, go back to our first episode, check that out, because that's kind of the poll star that actually laid out what we're going to be talking about in sum with each of these. But today's episode is dedicated specifically to your mission statement. Okay, so we're going to dive into that. But before we do, I just want to thank those of you who are checking us out here on YouTube. If you are checking us out on YouTube, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. So like the episode to let us know how you feel about it. Subscribe to the channel to make sure that you get updates on our ongoing podcast content, as well as other videos that we post here periodically about what's going on in the world at LFM. And make sure to share the video with any other law firm owners that you think might benefit from learning the tools and strategies that we have here at LFM to help you to grow your revenues and crush chaos in business and ultimately to make more money. All right. For this week, we are going into the mission statement. And the mission statement, again, as a reminder, is the why of your business. So a lot of people would say, I think I have an idea of what my mission statement. I'm in business to serve people this service for this purpose. And that's a good starting place, but there's actually things that you can do to flesh it out, to make it more definitive, make it more clear, and to make it better suit who you are and what you want to accomplish in your business, right? So think about it this way. If you start the conversation about your mission statement and you ask the question, why do you exist? What are the things that would come to mind? Most people would start with their practice areas, right? Or a practice area. You might have one, you may have many. Hopefully you don't have too many. Nowadays, most people are singularly focused on 1 to 3 areas. But however many you have, you would start with your practice area and you would say, we serve people in this practice area. But I want you to think about the why of that. Why did you choose your practice area? And there's some things that can help you to flesh out once you've thought about what is really the why of my practice area and what I do in business. When you get to that answer, there's some steps that you want to take. There's actually 5 steps that I want you to take in order to create a mission statement. Okay. So step number 1 is you want to identify your core audience. Okay. Now I said core, not all of your audiences, because for most of us, you will be serving different types of people, even across the same practice area. Okay. Your core is who you would normally think of as your ideal. Okay. Now, this is really around intentionality, because for a lot of us, we're serving people right now who are not our core, right? They happen to make up the vast majority of people that we're serving, but perhaps we want to elevate our brand. Perhaps we want to serve a different type of person. Perhaps you really resonate with one gender versus another in certain areas. So if you are a family law attorney, you might really prefer to serve men over women or women over men. Or if you are helping with families altogether, you might prefer to serve people who are in the LGBTQIA community, or you might want to serve people who are in heterosexual marriages, right? If you are serving immigrants, maybe you want to serve the business owners who rely on immigrant labor, or perhaps you want to serve the immigrants directly. Perhaps you really resonate with people who are fleeing persecution and thus they are seeking removal defense. Or maybe you're seeking to help people who are more entrepreneurial. They're seeking visas or work permits, right? There are different areas within what you do as a category that you might want to drill down on. And a lot of people will say, well, if I draw too strong a line around who I serve, I'm limiting myself. And to a certain degree, that is true, but only to a certain degree, right? There are still going to be people who are not 100% exactly defined by your ideal client avatar who would still be drawn to the message and the imagery of what your law firm represents. Case in point, we have a business client in Law Firm Mentor, a law firm that does business formation and litigation. And the owner of this firm told us quite squarely, he really likes to work with entrepreneurs, startups to emerging technology companies. And that's like his sweet spot. But he said most of my clients right now are people who are in the HVAC space. And like, I just keep getting referrals there. So I like the work. I don't turn it away, but I really want to get in over here. Like, this is kind of the thing that excites me. Okay. So when you think about that, you might be speaking to the intellectual side of your ideal client here, your tech founders. That doesn't mean that other founders wouldn't say, wow, I'm really excited by what he is saying about and to these people. So think about it that way, right? Your core are the folks who most benefit from your services. And when you think about most benefit, that might not be who currently comprises the majority of your base, but it may be. Okay. So just think about that category. You need to define that category very clearly. Second step in the process of creating your mission statement is you want to clarify the primary outcome that you create. Okay. Primary outcome. If you are in a business and you are providing a service, there's going to be some success metric for that service, whether the success metric is delivering a document, whether it is completing a negotiation or a transaction, or it could be as simple as giving advice about steps in a process. But generally speaking, there is going to be some starting point and some ending point. And when people define the ending point, you want to clarify what is the outcome that they should look to receive from you. By the way, just kind of a little tangent about that. The outcome is ultimately what you sell to, right? So when you are having really powerful sales conversations, you're not selling them the service of I draft documents, I provide emails, I communicate with adverse counsel. Those are transactions, right? You're selling the outcome of I help people to achieve this desirable life outcome, or I help them to prevent an undesirable life outcome, right? You are ultimately selling to the emotional core, because that is where people make decisions. Even analytical folks who like to think it's all about what you're thinking, what is ultimately guiding the thoughts are the feelings that are behind those thoughts. And so the outcome very much is what people are buying when they hire you. But nevertheless, you want to clarify the outcome, and you want to think about ultimately the transformation that a client is going to experience, right? They started off in one state and evolved to another state, or were transformed into a new state at the end of the representation, right? So things like protection, peace of mind, clarity, empowerment, achieving dreams, right? And then you want to think about, when you say what the outcome is, you want to think about how that outcome can apply across a multitude of different services that you may deliver within your practice area. So it might not be, I help divorce clients to legally end their marriages, and I help my business clients to form new companies, and I help my criminal defense clients to prevent incarceration, right? It might not be that you define it by the activity. It might be that you help people to get to some desired state associated with that activity. So if you're helping keeping a person out of jail, you're helping to keep a person with their family, to help them avoid the public shame and ridicule of, or the consequences of, a felony conviction. You're helping them to get to some, again, desired state. Okay. All right. Number 3. Okay. This is the third step in the process of creating a mission statement. We started with identify your core audience. Then we moved to clarify the outcome that you create. Step number 3 is to define your unique approach. Okay. Now this is some people refer to it as your unique selling proposition. Some of it is, your unique service delivery method. Think about it from the perspective of what makes you different than every other person who practices in your practice area. What about you is special? Now, for a lot of people, they have a hard time with this one, right? A lot of folks will say, well, I'm very consultative, but other people are consultative. I really spend time understanding my clients, but, I have other colleagues who are similarly as devoted to understanding their clients as I am. And the reality is the uniqueness of you is in approach, but it also is simply by virtue of you being you delivering that approach, right? There's only one you. The difference in talking about approach in this context from what you might see as a guiding star approach that you and a host of other lawyers might be adopting is the fact that when you are talking to a prospect and when you're talking to a client about this is how I do things that are different, there are people that will do things differently than you. And simply by virtue of you being the individual that you are and doing things in a specific way, that is unique to you. Right. So you want to always remember that your approach is going to be uniquely yours, no matter what you're doing. But if you're copying and pasting someone else's, it's going to be less of you. And that, of course, is less compelling. Okay. So when you think about your approach, I want you to ask yourself, what differentiates how you deliver legal services from the next person, right? Is it that you are very compassionate? Is it that you are very data driven? Is it that you have a team approach, right? Maybe a multitude of people will work on a file, but as a group, you'll be working together in addition to having individual assignments. What is the client likely to experience in the client experience and the client process of dealing with your firm that is going to be different than how that particular person might experience it elsewhere? All right. Fourth step, almost there. It's a 5-step process, right? Fourth step in the process of defining your mission statement is to combine it into a single strong sentence, right? So you want to put your core audience and your primary outcome and your unique approach into one strong sentence. Okay. So that looks like this. We, verb, impact, audience, by method, so that they can. Okay. So again, that is we. The next thing will be verb, right? And impact. For an audience, right? That goes to the core audience by a specific method so that they can result. So think about that if we were talking about an immigration firm. Okay. We zealously advocate and achieve amazing outcomes for immigrants legally in the United States seeking a greater status by fill in your method, right? So your method could be by appearing with them in immigration court, delivering powerful arguments in a way that is uniquely tailored to show their story to a tribunal, right? That method then becomes advocating in court, showing story, right? All of it is together, but it is uniquely together as one method. Okay. Now, that so that they can is really tying what you do to the outcome that is sought, right? So that transformation that you're going to achieve for the client, you want to talk about that. So when you say so that they can fill in the blank, what does that mean? So that they can preserve their families here in the United States, so that they can achieve the American dream, so that they can remain safe from persecution, right? What is the outcome that matters to the person? And again, this is not just valuable for your mission statement, but it's also valuable for sales conversations because at some point, this mission statement can be proliferated everywhere, right? It can be on your website. It can be in your written materials. It can be in your email footer. It can be on literature that you give to people right before they have a sales conversation with you. It can be something that's playing in the background as music or hold music when they call your firm, right? You can do any number of things to get your mission communicated, but the so that they can fill in the blank, part of it is the motivator, right? That is, again, pulling people to the thing that's going to provide direction and inspiration for them to say, yeah, I want that. That is what I am trying to get to. And these people have a method, have a process, and are going to be doing some very specific things for me, the core audience, to achieve that desired thing. Okay. And then finally, step number 5. Okay. So we've talked about mission statement. We've talked about identifying your core audience, the outcome that you create. The unique approach is your way of getting to that unique outcome. And you can put it all together in one sentence, one very strong, very powerful sentence. And by the way, strong and powerful does mean adjective. So you want to think about what evocative words can you use that are going to really drive emotion around your mission statement. So again, step 5 is testing it for clarity and emotion. Okay, what does that mean? That means if your team can't repeat it easily or doesn't feel inspirational, it needs to be tightened up a bit. Okay, so this is where you are going to tweak and again get to that strong one-liner, right? That one statement that will codify it all, but you want to put it together and you do want to test it. You want to try different iterations of it and roll it out to different people, right? Ask people that are both close to you and perhaps not so close to you how it lands, right? What about that really says powerful, impact, amazing, or nice, but not that special? You want to get lots of different opinions on your mission statement before you lock it in so that you know that it actually hits the note that you're aiming for. So think about it this way. We empower so-and-so to achieve such and such by how we practice law. Okay. That again is kind of the formula, right? We empower an audience to achieve a certain result by the method that we use to get there. And that is, in essence, your mission statement. All right, everyone. You have been listening to the Crushing Chaos with Law for Mentor podcast. I'm Allison Williams, your host. And on our next episode, we're going to be going into your vision statement. So if you haven't watched our first episode in the series, which was all about mission, vision, and values, how they're different, what they are, why you need them. And if you haven't tuned into the entirety of this episode, presumably you have because you're here listening now. This was all about the mission statement. Check those out before you go on to the third in the series, which is the vision statement